Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are live once again. Coveys Grassroots show, the 27th of February, the last weekend of the month. What a glorious day. But unfortunately, someone in here missed out on it.
Yeah, lovely day to be stuck at work all day.
So I had to drop that in. But yeah, it was actually
all day, like, oh. So at least I had a couple of phone calls today, didn't I? So I can just go outside and, oh yeah, I can't speak in here, can't speak in the office. Go outside.
No, it was a glorious day. In fact, it was nice weather, and again, it reminds you of the summertime come early. I mean, we're only at the end of February, still got another or less than a month to go, people. So calm down, because
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if you see it from outside the window, but I certainly did. Some of the crowds and stuff.
Yeah. Well, where I live, in Leon C, I was expecting. I'm away from work tonight. Usually on a Saturday when the weather's like this, it's usually Ramo. The traffic's usually really bad, but it wasn't tonight, to be fair. So maybe some people are listening. But, you know, some of the pictures you see, like crowds and people meeting outside of their households, and it's just not hard, is it? It's really not hard.
It's not hard. And again, I feel like we've got this far as well. So again, just relax. I know, look, it's good weather, but with all the said and done, like we're going to get this good weather throughout the summer and going forward. So all we've got to do is sacrifice a couple of more weeks, maybe, if that.
It's adults as well. Like adults are like blatantly going out, breaking the rules, and then just shoving it in people's faces. And you think to yourself, "Hold on, my kid's been stuck indoors. You know what I mean? Can't go to school, and I'm watching you go out and do whatever you want. It's pricks, mate."
Yeah, indeed. Just want to shout out to everyone who's listening in. Peter with the early comments as well. So shout out to Peter as well.
Yeah, I want to put this on the screen if I can. Just a big shout out to Tony Gay and Stimo and all the Hornchurch boys. If you can see that, hold on. Hold on, what's going on? Oh, I'm at a stink. Look, nearly. But yeah, just good luck. Well done to Hornchurch today. They beat Darlington. I'm sure everyone knows. But yeah, they've got on the old singing in the changing room buzz. It just looks brilliant. That's what it's all about, you know, like days like that. That's my phone's just gone white peaked on that. I just broke my phone. Cheers. Sorry, Tom. Tried to do you a little shout out and all that, but it went a bit skew with.
Nah, shout out to Tony. So obviously we've had him on before. Great guy, great personality as well, and I'm glad to hear he's doing well. So Tony, if you're listening, shout out to you and the rest of the boys. Congratulations for today, and superb win as well. But yeah, look, today we've got a really good show coming up. Like we say this every single week, but again, you know, really good guests. Some that I know well, some that you know as well. Starting off with Ross Weir. Shout out to Ross again from We Are United, former ex-professional as well. And then I'll let you do the other two as well. Who we've got on after that?
The other two, we've got Jay Devs and Joe Keefe.
Yeah, got to do it properly. Got to do it justice.
Yes. Yeah, we've got.
Don't forget to hashtag it.
So I'm looking forward to that. Just to find out, you know, get some inside info from what it's like being at that club, you know, because it's a manager's and a player's dream to be at a club like that. I don't care what anyone says. Oh yeah, people mug it off and you know, say it's not real. And come on, every single player, every single coach, every single manager would love to be at that club.
No,
say you wouldn't, you're lying.
And you're totally right as well. I mean, the way that they're moving forward, especially with everything that's happened over this past year as well, like the way they're just playing through. Obviously, that documentary that came out as well, really good watch. Yeah. And again, just how the way the club's moving forward. And it's a very, I say non-traditional club, if you like, because, you know, at that level, you don't have, you know, more cameras than flipping Sky Sports. But again, they've got so much more media going out. They've had so much attention, even when they was playing in the FA Cup as well. They had more viewership than, you know, a lot of these championship teams and all the rest of it, which just goes to show how big of a brand that they are. So we're on. I'm certainly on. I'm sure you are as well to have.
The documentary that they're doing. I think two out of four of the episodes have smashed like 100,000 views. 100,000.
That's light to them. That's light. That's
Yeah, it's like mental. And then like then you start delving a bit deeper. You go on the Spencer FC, and you're like 1.6 million.
Yeah,
On all of them, on all the videos. It's like Jesus. That exposure is just unreal. It's unreal.
That's what
I like it when I tweet about Swift and I get like 10 retweets. I'm buzzing.
Well, they're certainly big time as well, and they're certainly leading the way as well. Talking about some more news as well. Obviously, news has come out this week about certain steps are not being played going forward, and you seem to be very popular on Twitter. Must I say? Your phone must have been going off the hook.
It's all a bit of fun and games. I said the other day, there's not going to be like a massive flood of players come down. I think it was a little bit of fun for that one night, and you might see 2 or 3 come down. I think the rest of them will just go and play Sundays and just enjoy it on a Sunday with their mates.
I think
it's not long.
I think Kears was linked with you. I think a couple of other boys were willing to sign on the dotted line.
I don't think Devs would allow Kears to come and play.
Well, we can ask him later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just all a bit of fun. But yeah, it's just funny just to see like social media. Well, our social media.
That's what I mean. It's like the networking. The way I say it all the time about Twitter. The networking on there for footballers. I don't know why more managers don't do it. It's amazing the amount of players who was messaging me, but I take it with a pinch of salt, because until they're signed and they're in our changing room, it's not. You take it out as it's intended.
Yeah.
And that was just as a bit of banter, and it just winds so many people up as well, because so many people believe it as well. You know what I mean? Oh, fucking hell, Coveys going to sign all these fucking players. And he's a cheat, and always getting. He doesn't care about his players that have been loyal to him all season. Go and ask my players if I'm loyal to them, if they think I'm loyal to them or not.
Calm down. Let's get on the pitch first before we can start talking about this person, that person, because we're all clamoring to get on the pitch, saying we want people back, and already we're moaning. So a
month's a long time. It's still not been sorted out. Like our league is, I think there's a meeting on the 11th of March, and then they'll update us further. But it's still, I just don't know. Nothing's been confirmed yet.
Shout out to Inspirador as well. Evening Jets, you say, let's hope our friends share our content on the socials. Shout out to SP Continental as always. Coveys' Twitter game is unreal, to be fair. So shout out to them as well.
So them on strings. Add the whole of Twitter on strings, haven't I?
On strings, mate.
Last thing Peter as well, even to Peter. So seeing Peter up there.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about, obviously you're a popular guy now. I mean, I'm sure you was before, but
no.
Okay. You seem to be doing the rounds. How you finding all of this newfound fame, shall I say?
It's all right, to be fair. I'm enjoying it. You know what? It's nice. I've just learned to. Sometimes I haven't had a row on Twitter for God knows how long, and I used to be rowing all the time. And you know what? And you just got to ignore certain things, certain indirects, certain negativities. Ignore that. Focus on the positives. Go with the positives. Grow with the positives. You know what I mean? Just you can go either way. And just choose the right way. Just choose the positive way, the happy way. And I'm loving it. I love it. People might be getting a bit pissed off seeing me, seeing my name. I mean, and sometimes I find it. Like I said it the other day. I find it hard to say no to people that ask me to go on like a podcast or. So if I know them and they're just starting out, and obviously you want to help them. You want to help the channel grow and all that. We're not in competition. I said it the other day. Life's not a competition. We're all here to do our own thing. We're originators. We're at the top. We're at the top, obviously.
Stop bragging now, because otherwise people take this out of context.
You know what I mean? I'm joking. I'm just joking.
People take this seriously. You're like, what?
No, we just snip that bit and tweet that out. And they'd be like,
exactly. Right. So we've got to give a couple shout outs. Shout out to Abigail as well. Evening CK Gang. Again, we did a fantastic interview with her and Chloe Kelly from Manchester City in England. Of course, you can check that out on our YouTube platform. And again, once again, shout out to Inspirador FC. Says hashtag love the game. It will love you back. Now, first guest waiting in the wings. As we mentioned, he runs a team Weare United. Former or ex-professional as well, played for QPR, Bristol Rovers, I believe, as well. And you know, all-round nice guy as well, and a firm advocate for kick out as well. So again, love to bring him in. Here he is, the man himself, Mr. Ross Weir.
How we doing, guys?
I'm in the middle.
I'm gonna move. All right, calm down. Listen, it's big time already, man. Listen,
right, I'm in the middle.
He's a big guy. He's a big guy. Put him where he wants.
There you go. That's a sound.
How you doing, Ross? All right, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. You know, to tell you the truth, I'm all right.
Always repping, like, always repping the We Are.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd better. You know what I mean? Come on and show the badge and that.
You didn't do anything today? Any one-to-ones today?
Yeah, I've done some one-to-ones today, and that gets me out there. Keeps me busy, innit?
You love it, don't you? Proper love it. Proper coach.
Yeah, I do, to be fair.
Yeah.
So,
go on.
No, I was just going to say, like, how things are you? Obviously, dealing with everything. You know, news is going to be that we're coming back as well. How are you dealing with that? How's the boys dealing with that as well?
Yeah, obviously, all the lads are over the moon at the news that we can get back and that our league can actually finish it. Well, fingers crossed. They should be all right. Just depends on grounds and that. So that's another issue, but that's another story. But yeah, the lads are over the moon. Myself, yeah, we're all itching to get back, to tell you the truth. We start. So it's been crazy, but yeah, everyone wants to go back now, man.
Yeah, you still involved with Ilford, Ross?
No, I'm not, Bill. I took a step back. I felt it wasn't fair to them. I couldn't commit fully with other commitments, etc. So I stepped back and had to concentrate. So yeah.
So you're not? Are you doing? What's the next step for We Are United then? Where are you hoping to get them to Olympian or anything like that? Is there?
Yeah, definitely. Just want to push them on, to tell you the truth. Obviously, we're only a new side. Just wanted to see how it would actually work, see how committed the lads were. It's turned out really well. We've got a really good bunch as well. I feel that we could push on. So that's obviously the goal. So yeah, we'll see. But that's what we want to do.
Yeah, good.
So with the club, Weare United, where did that come from? Why did you want to get involved and start your own club?
Do you know what it was? I'm involved in academy as well. You know, that football program, PFA UK, over at Hendon. I had a lot of lads coming to me. They were at the age of 18. A lot of clubs stop under 18s. Then it's that transition into men's football, playing that senior football. You know, I sat there. I was getting lots of calls, people asking for clubs, etc. I thought, you know what? Why not do my own one? You know, and it was just like that. Sat in the garden, had a little idea with the wife. We're just talking. Said, look, let's get our own team going. And within a week, we put our application into the league and that, and here we are today.
Where's the name come from?
It's you're a joke. You
have to think about that
as well, you know. You're a joke. Yeah, well, it was a difficult one to think of, to tell you the truth.
I think it's funny, but what a great name, though. To be fair, if you go on, if that club goes on and grows and grows and grows, how buzzing are you going to be, and your kids and your children and their children? So I mean, their name. I know that someone invented a team called Cove Rangers. I know they're. One day I'll manage them probably. Just think there's like proper your name and you've started that club. That's unreal. That's unreal. I love it. I love that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Have you got anyone from? Did you take anyone from Woodford? Because I know once you went to Woodford, I know that the sort of the dynamic of Woodford sort of changed when you went there. It was like you turned them into like a young. They turned into like a young footballing. Just an amazing side, and it was. And have you got any of them? Definitely.
I've got a lot of those young boys with me. I've got some promising young lads as well coming through to look out for. So with Woodford, I took a few of the players. Well, not in Taken. They come played for me, obviously, there. So they wanted to follow me on. Came to me with United. Also, I've got a couple that are at Ilford now as well.
All right.
So they pushed on there. But yeah, the young lads that are about at the moment, good. So it's just a case of that step up and containing that consistency, which is a difficult thing to get for them. It's all right performing once. Can you do it week in, week out? So this is what we're trying to work on, just getting these lads to perform week in, week out, get that consistency, get that right, that training attitude, etc. that they need to push on, really.
Yeah.
I've got a shout out here from Akbir from Walthamstow Red Star. So shout out to Ross Weir from Walthamstow Red Star. Looking forward to our game soon. So obviously on the way back. But how are you finding that league anyway, man? Quite a tough league.
Do you know what? It's a good league, man. You've been over yourself. You've seen for yourself. It's a good
JK in there.
Yeah, JK. Got Park Inside Balls. We've got Global. There's some good football sides in there with some good players. It's nothing like when I was playing Sunday football. I'm telling you, listen, the standard now is good. These boys can play. On a Sunday, I see it as it's semi-pro players on a Sunday football pitch most of the time. It is, to tell you the truth. A lot of these guys can step up and play that standard. It's good. It's been good fun. It's been a lot of banter, especially with JK. But yeah, we look forward to Walthamstow, man. We're just glad our league's back on and we can get these games on, because they're much flying at the moment as well. So I know they're buzzing.
And did I see one time as well you put on the shirt as well?
Yeah, I did actually. Do you know what? I put on a shirt twice. The second time, we won't talk about that. I won't hear the end of it. Came on within 5 minutes, got nutmegs, missed a good opportunity. So I thought, you know what, the boots need to really go up now. But come on, I'll do a bit. You know what it's like. It's up here. You can do it, innit? So
have you gone back to being have you gone back a bit now? Are you still up front? You gone back?
I still thought I could get in behind and run the channels in that field.
Training. I still feel that training.
I've got to be smart. Just sit back, get the ball, and get rid of it. I think now. Them days are gone, man.
It's a game now. Sit at the back, sweeper, a bit like Maldini.
It's good fun though.
Obviously, you've had a professional career. Jerry Francis likened you to Les Ferdinand, which is, he must have rated you from QPR, and then obviously he left and took you to Bristol, wasn't that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And obviously you had your back injury. Tell us what was the injury that you had? Because obviously you had to retire early because of it, and
I had to retire at the age of 24, which was very hard, difficult to deal with. But I had a lower back problem. I had a big rupture in my lower back. A lot of complications from then. I had internal bleeding, had calcification where bones started forming around my muscles. I suffered from real bad muscle spasms. So anyone who suffers from cramp, it's a major cramp basically in your back, and it's painful, man. You're rigid, you can't move. So yeah, it was difficult for me to regain that full fitness, to maintain it, training every day of the week, playing 2-3 times a week. I just couldn't keep up with it. So unfortunately, doctors said, you know what, you basically got to retire, or you could end up a cripple, basically, end up in a wheelchair. So there's more to football, as you know. So yeah, that decision,
cool.
I made it. Yeah, man.
Did you try and sort of carry on? Did you try and go down?
Yeah, I did, man. I tried to be the hero, within myself. And this is what I always say to these young lads that I coach. If anyone's got an injury, just speak up, be honest. Don't be brave. Take a couple weeks out if you need to, do you know what I mean? Rather than it gets any worse and God forbid you can't play anymore. But that's what happened to me. I went in, listen, I got a pro deal, come from non-league. I just got myself in the first team. I knew I had a niggle. I knew my back was hurting. I didn't speak up. I trained on it. I tried to play on it. I made it worse. So yeah, I didn't do myself any favors. So I say to anyone, listen, you got injury, speak up, man.
And what was that? What sort of injury was it? It's not obviously not an impact injury. Is that something that's
No,
or?
I was told it's from overuse, basically. Where I wasn't so-called used to training every day, my body physically wasn't used to training every day. You know, I was a non-league player. I'd be lucky if I trained once a week. Do you know what I mean? Just turn up to a game and that. So to go in full time under Jerry Francis, who's known for his fitness regime, etc., it was very difficult. You know, but. Yeah. I'd stay out on the field. I'd do extra things. I'd do extra finishing. Do you know what I mean? Just trying to do extra bits, but it didn't do me the benefit that I thought it would. You know, it done a reverse. So my body just couldn't take it and broke down, to be fair with you.
Jesus.
During that time as a professional, though, what was like the sort of good memories that you did have that stand with you?
Great memories, great banter. That's the first thing, man. The lads, you know, brilliant at QPR and Rovers. Great times. Moving to Bristol was obviously different. You know, obviously being a London team. I grew up in Acton, which is 10 minutes from Shepherd's Bush. It's the local club, QPR. You know, so to play for them was always good. But to travel to Bristol, didn't know anyone. Everyone made me really feel welcome there. The club was brilliant. You know, my son was born there, so that's one of my great memories in Bristol. But yeah, as a pro, I'd have to say it's the traveling to grounds, it's the match day buzz, you know, the crowd, you can hear it, you know, the changing room, just the atmosphere, man. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it still. So yeah, but yeah, it was good. It was good.
And a West London boy supporting Arsenal. How was that growing up?
Yeah, that was out of spite. My old man was a Tottenham fan, so do you know what? I thought I'm going to support Arsenal. Nah, do you know what? To be fair, Arsenal was the first club that I went and watched with my uncle. Just loved it, loved the atmosphere, fell in love with the club, and I went back ever since. You know, not quite the same now at Emirates. To be fair, I'm a Highbury man. I loved it.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
You know what I mean? I'm not a fan of the big old stadium, and you know, but yeah, Arsenal's my love.
We got a question down there. Whose banter is better, non-league or pro?
Oh, non-league.
You get away with more. You get away with more non-league.
It's real. It's, you know, it's in your face, man. It's real. I love it. You can't beat it on the pitch and off the pitch. Trust. Definitely. Good question.
Non-league coach. You can kidnap someone at a services and put them in your coach and drive them for 20 miles. You can't do that as a pro.
So you're speaking from experience there, Cove. What's going on?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But Ross, talk to us about obviously you're a very big advocate for Kick It Out. Now talk to us about that. Like why, obviously not probably more why, but again, like you've been on it for a while now. Like a lot of people jump in it like when it affects them, whereas you've been doing it for time. So what's your involvement in it and you know, how long have you been doing it for?
Listen, it's from when I was playing, to tell you the truth. You know, way back in the day, Kick It Out was still trying to do a thing then, as we are now. So that shows you how long it's been going on for. You know, I was playing back in the late 90s, early 2000s. We're sitting here 221 talking about the same old thing. But yeah, I used to wear the t-shirt as a player. You know, I used to campaign back then as a player and try and get the message out. So it just seemed natural from leaving the game to continue it, especially within grassroots football. I found obviously the higher up they were getting all the media, etc. But you know, it happens in every league. So I needed to just do some work in the lower leagues and get it out there in all the platforms really, and just try and push it out. So yeah, that, you know, it comes from experience, obviously, suffering from certain things. So yeah, just want to try and get behind anything that's positive, don't you, really, and try and promote it, and that's what I try to do.
Do you feel like there's been any sort of improvement since, you know, you've been aligned with Kick It Out, or, you know, anything positive to say? Because
yeah, definitely, Clinton, because there's a lot more, obviously, like things like this, social media. There's a lot more talk now. It's easier to talk. It's easier to report things. You know, that it does help. Players can come forward. You know, they can say they've been racially abused now and feel no way about it. Whereas before, you just battle with it and think there's part and parcel, so there has been change. People are seeing it. It ain't right. You don't have to put up with it, and there are people that will listen and try and help fight your cause or whatever. So yeah, definitely has been changed. Definitely.
I think it's a little bit. I feel the frustration though with some of the players because we experienced it last year. One of my coaches experienced something during a game, and obviously we went down the right lines after the game, reported it and everything, and still haven't heard anything back. And it's like, you know what? If I would have called a linesman a prick, I'd have been banned, and I'd have been up in Chelmsford by now and banned for 6 weeks. So you know what I mean? It's that sort of element is frustrating. They're trying to champion it and saying, "Oh yeah, we care and we're doing this and we're doing that and we have non-league day and I will just do something when something happens." Then,
yeah,
it's like it feels like they want it to just go away. It shouldn't go away because my coach. I saw the look in my coach's eyes that day, and I want something done about it.
Yeah, and too right. I agree. Something should be done about it, and something should have been done about it. I totally agree with you. That's disgusting.
You know that there's things going on, and you know what I mean? But like I say, if that was me calling a linesman a cheat or a prick or saying he was shit, that would have been dealt with 100% by now. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. No, definitely, I do agree. That's where we all got to speak about it and get together and put the issues out there. Don't let it rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fight it all the way. Definitely. That's what people got to do. 100%. Don't let anything slide. And I say that to anyone.
People too worried about getting a little ban and getting a little telling off and a bad email from the league. Mate, them people, I'm not worried about them people. They can't trouble me. I don't give a. I'll say what I feel. Always have, always will.
100%.
But let's moving on to the situation we're in at the moment, and the news that we've had about obviously Essex Senior. I know that doesn't impact you at the moment anymore. But what, as a football man, as a man that lives and breathes football like you do, what would you have done in this situation? What would you think is the best sort of scenario?
Me, I would have liked to have seen a lot more leagues get finished, for starters, extensions. There is a way, you know, it can happen. I'm all for that. So to see leagues be void again, and you know, people are losing heart, clubs are losing money. You know, it doesn't seem like there's enough backing for these grassroots football. Once again, grassroots football suffering. I don't see that's fair. You know, other leagues playing their football. Why are we suffering again? Get the leagues finished, man. The players want it. The coaches want it. There's a lot of time and effort goes into these things, you know. Yeah, so I'm gutted. To be fair, I'm gutted. I've spoken to so many people at the moment who feel the same as well. You know, obviously everyone, you know, wants to stay safe, of course. You know, that comes first and that. But there's ways. There is ways. We can do it, man. We can all keep safe, and we can keep everything going. I'm a firm believer in that. You know.
I think there needed to be some sort of, you needed to be a little bit more regimented or uniformed, and everyone do the same sort of thing. Everyone sing from the same hymn sheet. It's no good this step carrying on, that step cancelling. Even leagues at the same step, some are carrying on, some are cancelling. It's like, come on, you're making a mockery here.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a joke. Like, and you have like one step above you can play, but you can't play. That's crazy. It don't make no sense, exactly. What's this?
I just think they all shoot off the hip. As soon as Boris makes an announcement, they all shoot from the hip, and they all make these decisions and put out these announcements.
Yeah.
And then they probably digest them 48 hours later and think, oh, you know what? I don't think that was a good idea, to be honest.
Yeah, true, man. Yeah. I don't know how they come up with these things. Seriously, I don't know who or how they even decide it. It's crazy.
Lucky. Covey was busy this week on the recruitment drive. Basically, he was just thinking it's a January transfer window. So, what about yourself, Ross? Was you getting some phone calls as well, saying, you know, can I come to Weare United for a couple of months? Were you getting those same phone calls as well?
You know what? I ain't gonna lie. I've had a few people wanting minutes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like I'm not gonna, man. I'm gonna stick with what I've got. I see that's fair. We started the league with the players we've got. We're gonna finish the league with the players we've got. You know, it's easy to start nicking players from you know, step 6 and etc. That, you know what I mean, step 4 players and that coming playing on a Sunday, you know. But I'm not gonna do that. Not gonna do that, man. Let's finish with what we got. I've got a big squad anyway, to tell you the truth. I couldn't even take any more players right now. So I think we've got the biggest squad in the Sunday combination league. So
I was gonna say, like, for those double headers that we got coming up next, you're gonna need them because again, there's loads of double headers.
100%, man. So yeah, no, we're all right there. To tell you the truth, we're all right, man.
So there's talk as well about you hear all sorts of rumours. Obviously, being in different group chats, they're hearing different things from their club secretaries, and so you're hearing all different things. So you're talking about now there's going to be like a massive restructure, and people that have applied for promotion are going to be promoted, and then leagues might be split up, and you know you might, instead of driving an hour to an away game, they might try and finally sort it out. So you only drive an half hour up the road. Is obviously, do you want to bring Weare into Saturday football? Would you take that? Would you sort of take that chance now? Would you apply now?
I had the offer last season. I had the offer last season to take United into Saturday football. But once again, the COVID and that, we didn't finish the season, and it was a bit up in the air. You know, we ended up missing half the season, and I felt that we hadn't really given it a good enough go yet. You know, so we just stick at it. So plus, I got players that that play on Saturdays as well. You know that. I got players that play Saturday football as well. So it's always difficult. Do I stick and go Saturdays and lose half the squad, or do you know what I mean? Or do I just keep it going for another year and hopefully they invest in what I'm trying to build and achieve, and actually say, do you know what, we can actually push on as a team and become a big Saturday outfit ourselves. So that's the aim. So hopefully they're buying into it and knowing that we're not just sticking to be that so-called Sunday team. You know, obviously we've got ambitions and we are going to push on. You know.
Yeah. Got another question in here from Hugo saying, we're all here about the impacts lockdown has had on players' mental health. But as a coach, has it had any impact on you? And how have you dealt with it?
Very, very good question. Obviously, myself, I've spoken about it before. I don't mind speaking about it again. I suffered from mental health issues when I retired from professional football. Was clinically described, had depression and that, and was receiving treatment for it. So obviously I've overcome that, got myself back in, into a good space, good mindset, pushed myself on back into football, got into the coaching, etc. So, that's always been my main concern about lockdown, etc. I haven't faced anything where I haven't had an outlet, so it's the first time I've had a lot of time to think. So I was obviously just, in the back of your mind, you're worried. You've got to try and keep positive. I didn't want to start getting down or anything. Obviously, I've had, your moments without football. But then again, I've had my own personal issues, as you are well aware of at the moment, and that. So that's hit even harder. But no, man, I'm in a good space right now. Trust, I'm all right. So I'm positive, and that's how we got to be. You got to be positive. Trust. There's always people in a worse situation. So no, I'm all right, man. We're all right.
No. It's good to hear, and I'm sure you've been keeping up with your 5K runs as well, right? Because I'm ready. I'm ready to go, man.
I've never been a distance runner.
10 forward, short sharp.
Mate, the longest run is when you're celebrating after scoring. That's it. But no, I try and keep fit though, man. I do my thing in it, so I'm all right. Is that what you're doing? 5Ks?
Trying to. I mean, I'm not posting the times. Notice that I'm not posting the times. I mean, as long as you do the 5K, that's fine. But the time,
you've done it.
Exactly. As long as it's done, that's the main thing.
The one, man. Yeah.
Ross, how are you keeping your players motivated as well during this time?
To be fair, a lot of phone calls, a lot of checking in, making sure everyone's all right. Group chats buzzing still. Videos, workouts, online sessions. Still, some of the boys are training with me personally anyway, so they're keeping fit. They've all got their little training programs. So yeah, they're keeping fit, man. They're good lads as well. They got that mentality anyway. So You know, they're all right, to be fair.
What's the average age of your squad?
Average age at the moment, 19.
Brilliant.
19, I'd say, yeah, man. It's a very young side. We're known to have a young side. I've brought in a few older heads. I've had to. We need that bit of experience. I've learned that. I just came in blind. Obviously, entered it with a team basically of 18-year-olds, literally. I think my oldest player was just turning 19. So we learned the hard way that you need to have them players who can jump in the mix as well. And you know what I mean? It's not all about pretty football, obviously. So we brought in a few wiser heads who can scream and shout at them and all on the pitch, which is their need. So yeah, man.
So I first met you when you was at Woodford and I was at Ilford. I think I shouted at your dugout and I turned around and I looked at you. I was like, oh. I think it was a Neil Day called me a C, and I was like,
yeah. Oh, I love Neil. I'm a bit different in the dugout. A lot of people will tell you that.
Yeah,
you know what it's like. You turn on and it's football, man. You just switch on for 90 minutes and I'm game mode, and then come away with mates again, isn't it?
Yeah, you know. What? How was the Essex Senior for you? How was that experience? What's that? Has that brought anything to your game?
Do you know what? I enjoyed it, man. It was a good opportunity, to be fair. You know, I went full circle from playing in the Essex Senior League, where it all started for me.
Yeah,
it all started, to going back and to coaching, you know, and then managing in it. So it was good, man. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Woodford was a great club. Loved the players and that, the fans. It was quality, man. I enjoyed it. So same as when I went over to Ilford, you know, same sort of thing. You know, it's good. It's good. It's a good standard. You know, the lads are willing and that. So yeah, I enjoyed it, man. I've had a few offers to come back in from some clubs, but like I say, it's just time, isn't it? It's time. You know, I work full time in football, so then I'm working Monday to Friday in football, and then I'm doing Sundays, and that's what the case. When I was at Woodford, I was literally 7 days a week football. And, the missus weren't having none of that. So I needed a day off, man.
Yeah, well, top man. Listen, I don't know if Clint's got any more questions, but I wanted to, you know, thank you for coming on, mate. It's been really.
Thanks for asking, man.
Yeah. And send our love to Dee, please, mate. Hope she's well.
Appreciate that.
Well, mate, and send her love.
Love that, bro.
All right, thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks, Clinton. Yeah.
Anytime, man.
Keep up the good work, you man.
Nice
appreciate
one,
it, man.
Nice one, mate. See you later.
Mate. Thanks a lot. Peace.
Later.
Take care. That was Ross Weir, man. What a legend, man. What a legend.
Top guy, man.
Definitely is indeed. So look, we've got a couple of minutes before we have our next guest on as well. Just want to say shout out to everyone who's listening so far. Really appreciate it as well. And thanks for the questions as well. Got a message in here as well from P saying thanks, Ross, best coach. So yeah, shout out to you as well. But yeah, again, thanks for everyone listening so far. Again,
he's so committed to the game, that guy. You just see him. Obviously, if you follow him, if you don't follow him, make sure you go and follow him. They're the sort of coaches that impact players' lives. You know, you see, like I'm not out there every day coaching players, but people like him he's at it every day, and he's impacting young people's lives every day. So take me out to him.
That's it, indeed. I mean, as he said there, before he left, his club on a Saturday, like he was working 7 days a week, 7 days of football.
Yeah.
So again, just goes to show how involved he is, and the love he has for the game as well.
Yeah.
Just want to put out an announcement that we're currently streaming on Twitter, but we won't be in the next couple of minutes or so. So it's just an announcement to say, if you want to tune into the next guest, which is coming up very, very soon, please hit the link in the description below, either on my account or Coveys' account, which will direct you to the YouTube page, and we'll come back to this. So we're not
Roots TV, done. We're there.
Exactly. Just do that, because again, we're just trying to make sure we drive traffic to YouTube just to get you involved. But yes. Another shout out here from Duchess of Funk saying, love what your previous guests had to say about fessing up about carrying injuries. Good man. Very good man indeed. So yeah, just one more time. Again, if you're watching this on Twitter, please come across to YouTube and you can find us still here again with our next 2 guests that we have coming on.
How do you do it?
We got to do it like this. We got to do it properly. There we go. There we go.
Yeah. Pick them up.
There you go. So, Covey, do you want to do the honours of introducing them?
Yes, please, mate. If they're ready and lining up, we've got #United first team management duo manager Jay Devereux, Debs, and his assistant Joe Keefe.
Here we go. Here we go. Evening, gents.
Hold on, I can't say what one to do. Hold on.
Hey, what have you been into?
I'm the one with the talent. Yeah.
Oh.
How are we both doing?
Very good, thank you. Yourselves? Very good.
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Not too bad. As lockdown treated you now after that news the other night, a bit of a shock to everyone, cutting the season short again. How's that impacted you?
Was it a shock?
Well, it's a shock that they've told me I've got to carry on. Sign Joe again.
As ever, they've been consistent with their inconsistency, haven't they?
Yeah, you're right.
I think for this season, you know, obviously they've changed the wording, they've called it curtailed, and to be honest, probably it's the right decision. We've got teams in our league. I think the most anyone's played 14, 15 games, and we've got teams played as little as 7 or 8. The leagues above that, there's teams that have played 3 or 4 league games. So I can't argue with a decision to curtail, and thankfully it's not been null and voided. But for me, the real issue is how quick they were to null and void last season, and how so much could have been avoided. I just thought it through a bit better, and the lack of planning, because there's no way, it's easy to say we wouldn't have known this would have happened. No one knew it was going to happen last year. But once it did, going into the new season without a clear plan, I think is the thing that's really upset a lot of people. Didn't seem to be a clear plan as to what would happen if, and even, the fact that they're continuing with the FA Vars, for example, just making it about, the funding and the money, and the teams still in the Vars have got to go straight into a fixture. I think the first weekend of April, they're not allowed to train before then.
Yeah,
they talk about sporting integrity, but it just seems to make a mockery of a lot of situations.
Yeah, it's like us. I think when they're planning for us to come back, I think we can fit in one training session before we come back. I was speaking to someone a couple of nights ago. I was saying I think that you'll see more injuries in this short little period than you've seen for years in non-league football.
Joe, how are our injuries this year?
Yeah, I mean, we suffer with them anyway. But when we went back for our the Vars game after being off for however long, it was a case of one training session straight back in. I know that this has been longer, but it's just taking all the players, everyone for granted. And yeah, I see a lot of things. Players should be fit and they should be keeping themselves fit, but it's not match fitness. It's not, 100 mile an hour, going out for a run and doing all of that. Do you push yourself like you have to in a game? I'm not so sure. It can't be good for the players.
You can't replicate it. And the fact is, if you could, we wouldn't need pre-seasons, would we?
Exactly that.
We have
not like the old days, Bill, the pre-seasons, where turned up a stone overweight and you thought, right, I've got 6 weeks to lose a stone, and then
we used to go over Chinkford Man, park over Chinkford Man and run up the hills, someone on your back.
Forest, yes, piggybacks up Hainault Forest.
Imagine me on your back. But I said it last night. I said it on another podcast the other night about if a centre half, if he's going to go out and do a 5K, 10K, all right, yeah, that's keeping him fit. But when he goes to play on a Saturday and the ball goes over his head and he's got to turn and he's got to sprint and chase that centre forward, mate, it's going to be hamstrings and groins popping all over the place. And I just don't think they realise it.
Even this season, that with a pre-season in place, they front-loaded the fixtures. I mean, normally it's a bit, but to get the FA Cup in, and we were fortunate, we had a little bit of a run in the FA Cup, but we were going like full on straight out. So there wasn't really even enough time to get on the training ground and get the recovery in. It was just game to game to game.
Was our midweek games for us, so our home games switched to a Monday night. So we was Saturday, Monday, because we had loads of home games on a Monday, and then even after that, we got a Tuesday night game, and our FA Cup game was on a Sunday. So it was like they just continually played within that 48 hours.
We were looking for the first Tuesday for a day's break, and we were like, yeah, we got it. And then us and Bowers both got drew at home in the FA Cup, and we had to move our fixture to the Sunday.
Oh, what a night.
Cheers.
What a night.
Yeah. I'm just going to head to the comment section quickly. Hugo said twinning L. So basically... and then another comment says, I'm disappointed Joe does not have a glass of red in his hand. So
it will be somewhere. It'll be next to him somewhere.
No.
Hold on.
Red stripe.
Oh, okay, it's on the red stripe. Another comment here from Peter said, in my opinion, the curtailing is killing the players, especially the younger ones. What's your thoughts?
All of them. Younger ones, yeah, because it's putting huge gaps in their development and their opportunities. The older ones, there's going to be boys that, are going in thinking this could be my last season, and then their last season ends up being 2 years ago. I think everybody kind of feels cheated by the situation. But we can't help that there's a pandemic. That's one thing's clear. I don't know. I'm hearing noises about younger players, grassroots in terms of development. There's people calling for example, extra seasons at 9-a-side before they move on to 11-a-side. And I saw a really good argument for the under-18s to just run as one extra season for under-19s being able to play still. I think it's caused so many issues. Yeah.
I want to get away from COVID before all the leagues start banning us and giving us fines and stuff for them and telling them they made a wrong decision.
Don't bring controversy, do you?
I'll probably come off of this show and I've probably got 7 emails from the league. Going back to you two, it's what it's saying. It's so important at the level what we are, what you are, and that we've played at to find that chemistry with someone. And obviously, you two have got that. I know you was at East Thurrock together, very successful at East Thurrock. How yous and Covo changed that club around, I have no idea, because I played for them, and it wasn't. I don't want to badmouth that club, but it wasn't I wasn't thinking I was at a massive club. But then you look around 5 minutes later and you're like in the conference, and I'm like, how the hell have they done that? Or the National League? How have they done that? What was your secret? How did you get that club?
I always talk to Covo about it, and I always say he had this. So there was one year he had a 50-goal striker in Igo, and the next year he had a 50-goal striker in Tui, or the other way round, and they never got promoted. Then they signed a left back in me, and then they got promoted, Bill, and that was the secret of success. All they needed to do was sign me, and that was it. We was up, but the whole club.
That's the year I joined as well.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention that. No, the whole turnaround of the club from what you knew. Yeah, the turnaround from the club that you knew and the people that I know that played for him back then, and the difference is Covo. He just changed that entire club from probably top to bottom, and then
he was
just
he should take and deserves all the credit for that. Yeah. I mean, I think we joined the same season, Joe, didn't we? The same pre-season. Yeah. Didn't know each other. So that's when we first met, that pre-season, and that relationship started off as coach and player.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I remember speaking to Coveys, to John Lennon, and obviously Joe said that they'd missed out 2 years on the spin in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The first year was that crazy end of season with Waverley where just about everything happened for them. And I think that was a hammer blow. And it took them a season to almost, they never really recovered. As free scoring as they were, as good as they were. And I remember John sitting there, he asked me to come in and join with him. He said, I need you to come in and I need you to kind of put a rocket up on me. He said, I feel like we've got a bit too complacent. He's had this reputation, he's always had this reputation, and it's a fair reputation of being like a really nice guy and calm. And he's like you kind of that softly approach. And he felt he needed something kind of. So I had this kind of remit to go in and be like really, really like quite demanding, and probably Joe at the time a little bit too much because that's what he was asking me to be. And in that first, I remember that first session. I turned up and he signed Joe, and Lee Hodges was there as well. So you talk about two ex-professionals, you know, real good reputations, and you're thinking, how am I going to get this across? You know, there's always this worry of what you're going to get with people that are kind of dropping down and what their attitude is going to be. And they were brilliant. They kind of led by example, and they took it on the chin. They showed that, you know, that it didn't matter if what I was saying they disagreed with or didn't like, they did it and they got their heads down. And that was a massive help to me. And probably I lent on the likes of Joe and Hodge a lot early on because he was kind of, didn't really play, did he, Joe? He was on the bench. So he'd be on the bench and talk. And I remember him saying to me, and it was a really, really important message, he said, good players always listen. He said, good pros will always, always listen. He said, they might go away and kind of throw some of what you've said in the bin because they don't agree with it. He said, but they will always listen. They will always give you their ear, if you like. He said, and that's why good players are good players, because they don't dismiss any information they get.
Yeah. That's like when Joe played for Epping for me, and I just said, just go out there and just destroy them. And he listened. He did.
Yeah, but now he only answered to Diego. He called him Maradona the other week. He's been walking around with a blue and white stripe. I'm surprised he's not wearing it at night.
A big curly black wig.
Yeah.
Oh,
but as I say, so like obviously Joe will see it from the playing point of view coming in, but
yeah. So Coveys was at the club when I was at East Far. He was working under Pato, and he was really, you know, he was quiet. You know, but everyone liked Coveys. He was just, he was, you know, everyone, a lovely man. And that, you could probably sense that he was probably just looking and thinking to himself, like, this, working out how to do things better. And, you know, and obviously he went on to do it better, and he's given that club the most successful period of their in their existence. Obviously not there anymore. Both of you are not there. You went your separate ways. And then the hashtag thing come around, and this is Clinton's forte and expertise. He wants to ask you a few questions about that.
Here we go. Here we go. Come on, Clinton.
I just want to know, like, obviously, let's start from the beginning. How did it come about? How did the opportunity of working at Hashtag United come about? And what was your first initial thoughts when this happened?
We just missed out on the playoffs at East Thurrock to go into the Conference South. We got into the we lost at Lowestoft, didn't we? It was a year Concord went up, Joe, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because they end up beating Lowestoft in the final, and we got beat, and so we'd had a fantastic season. And Stevie CB, Spencer's dad, was our physio at East Thurrock. And just kind of pre-season following year, he came in and he said to Coveys, he said, my son's into kind of, he's a creative, basically. He's into filmmaking. He's doing these bits and pieces in football. He'd like to come along and kind of do a bit of follow us about a bit and do a bit of a documentary. So Spence spent pre-season with us and probably the first month of the season, I think. And I think he put out 2 or 3 episodes, and he was kind of just came along. First thing he'd really done, I think, certainly around the non-league football side of things. And his work it kind of exploded and took off. I think he went off to work for Vincent Company and Copper 90 and all that. So he didn't actually finish what he started and set out to do. But then Steve would just come in and with these crazy stories, Joe, wouldn't he? I don't know if you remember, like you'd be in the office where we kind of spent 90% of our time there, just at East Thurrock. And Steve would come in and say, I remember one day he came in and said, I'm at Wembley tomorrow. We were like, oh, what's that for? He said, Spencer's team are playing. We were like, what? He said, yeah, we've got this game at Wembley. It's behind closed doors. He said, I might be playing. Wow. We're like, and I remember saying to him, I don't want a manager, do they? Like, and we laughed it off. And it was that kind of thing. Like, their first game, the first organised game was at Wembley. I don't think they were called hashtag then. You think it was like a Spencer FC. Yeah. And then he kind of just always kept a kind of a bit of an eye on it. And I probably, because you left, Joe, didn't you? So I probably got more updates from Steve because you had moved, you went to Canvey. But my boy was right into it as well. He'd kind of got to the age when Spen started doing that thing. Ellis was about 8 and had just got to the age where he wanted to just come football with me every week. So he kind of saw what Spencer was doing. The next thing you know, like you'd hear Spencer's voice coming from his laptop, like iPad or whatever, and he was watching and he was always telling me, "Oh, they're doing this. It's hashtag United." And he'd be like, and then he come and followed us to a couple of years later. We got to the first round of the FA Cup, and he come and followed us up to Hartlepool, didn't he, Joe? Joined us for that.
Yeah.
And that was like a one-off thing.
He was big by then, though.
He was big, yeah. He was getting really started. Yeah, he was, wasn't he? He was really creating his own kind of. He probably had 1 million followers by then.
But did he change at all, like in terms of personality? Did he change, or was he still Spencer? Who he
was just a quiet lad. He'd come in and he would interview boys individually, or he'd just put his. I mean, if you watch it back and listen to it, he sounds very different. You can tell he was new and he's gone away and done so much more. We're probably talking 8 years ago nearly now.
Yeah. What I would say with that is that, Devs obviously knows him more than me and better than me, but I remember being on that coach and Covo let Devs take his boy up and I got to take my eldest up. And on the way back, all the players they'd stayed overnight, like they'd gone out after the game at Hartlepool. And so on the way out, I remember Spencer sitting talking to my boy for about half hour on the coach and just explaining stuff and doing it. And then I know that if my boy turned up at hashtag game, if there was a game tomorrow and he turned up, Spen would talk the same way to him. He's not so then to now, that side of it, there's nothing changed. He's probably got a lot of thoughts going through his head and everything like that. But that side of him, that doesn't change with him. He's as approachable as ever and always has been, really. He's a top man like that.
It must be like a family sort of feel there, mustn't it? It's just because although you've got so much backing and support, you must have a lot of people don't like it, a lot of jealousy, and like you said, it must be listen, I would love that sort of support and backing, and when I was a player, I would have loved to have played for them, and and if you get people that coat it off and you know what, if anyone player or manager says they wouldn't like to be at hashtag, they're lying.
They are lying.
I think, to be honest, a lot of the criticism I think comes in the name.
Yeah.
It's not a place, and it's weird. But
what you should do, you should just make a place, just buy a little island.
He refers to it like he'll drop these little quips in his commentary, things like that about they'll be dancing on the streets of hashtag, and it's a little joke at the fact that people moan that we're not a place, and so I think a lot of it starts from that. And then they talk about franchise football and things like that, but you know, it's a strange name. But in 15, 20 years' time, hashtag's a fairly new name to the words to your vocabulary, isn't it? But you can't avoid it. So when you look at it, it's pretty genius because people say hashtag this, hashtag that, and if you're in the football world and now, particularly in the non-league world now, if you say the word hashtag, the odds are the club kind of comes to mind.
Yeah.
And that is a genius piece of a genius idea, really. So we get a bit of hate, we get a lot of support as well, and that kind of.
Do you feel like there's added pressure? I know you got say you're playing against, you might be playing against Clapton next week. You might have 10 people in the stand, but you might have 160,000 people streaming and watching it on YouTube. Do you feel like there's any added pressure, or do you just ignore that?
The pressure is, that's on the players for a start, and there is pressure. That stands them in good stead for the big game because they're used to the pressure of big games because every game's a big game. But and it's something that we always sort of go on to the players about, is that last season we conceded a lot of goals because teams don't stop playing against you because they get their chance to, in the 90th minute they could be 4-0 down, but if he scores a goal, he's on YouTube and he's got that. So defenders don't want to be embarrassed and goal scorers want to score.
Yeah. We've had boys wheel away at scoring in the last minute to make it 5-1. They get the one and they wheel away. And then you'll get an email or a text or something 3 days later saying, I'm the player that got that goal against you. You think, you just be
when us three played, we would have gone out and tried to smash them. That's what you got facing that now. That's what you got. How do you combat that? I know I've watched some of your team talks, Dev, and obviously I know you as a player because we played around the same sort of time, and I joined full after you had that nice FA Cup run, and I know what you was like as a player, and obviously Joe, I know what you was like as a player. But how do you tell? I don't know how you get them mentally right that they're going to be in a cup final every single week.
But do you know what? We're now at a club where there's particularly in the level we're at, there's expectation. People have got to the point where they expect us to win. And we've been at the other end of that, haven't we, Joe, where we've been massive underdogs every week. East Thurrock, once you're in the Isthmian Premier and then the National League South, you're pretty much, you're one of the smaller clubs and you're punching above your weight. So it's a good experience to have. Pressure, I don't think when you manage, you take your Swift side, you're under pressure because you put yourself under pressure, don't you? I don't think there's any greater pressure than the pressure you put yourself under anyway. Yeah. So I've felt pressure whenever I've managed because I put myself under pressure, whether it's here at hashtag, whether it was at Redbridge or Barking years ago, and even as an assistant at East Thurrock. Joe managing at Tilbury would have felt under pressure because of the pressure he put himself under. Yeah. And it's the same thing. So it comes probably more after games when in terms of the reactions. That's when you get the comments on you'll get a silly amount of comments, but it's based on 12 minutes of highlights, not seeing anything that's gone in during the week. Gives you a bit of an insight, I'd say, to what at the top level they have to experience, when they're getting pelters from people like me and you, because it makes you realise we comment on things we don't know about on the whole. Yeah. A snippet of it, and you just learn to deal with it, or if you don't, you're going to struggle. And that's what you see that with players, Joe. We've had some that cope with it better than others.
So we've had a couple that haven't coped well with either side of it. The pressure of playing in a really good side, for the level, and also what comes after a bad performance, or sometimes it can be as much as you think you've had a good performance, and then you might not get the comments that you think you deserve. Yeah. people take it to heart, and the best way is not to look at it, but that's not the world we live in anymore, is it? So
yeah.
I have to watch it. I have to read the comments. I feel like I have to read the comments because I need to know what's being said about our players.
Yeah, I'd definitely read them. I'd be definitely reading.
I know you would.
But you'd be arguing with every single one of them.
You would.
You would reply back as well.
You'd be making most of the comments.
Got this question coming here. It says, how do you deal with a quote unquote bad egg in the changing room? What are you laughing for, Joe? He's already been
through what I argued with it is I paid him loads of money and just let him do what he wanted, and that got me the sack. So that was how I dealt with it.
To be honest, I think if they're an obvious bad egg and they're bad news, then you just got to cut them loose. Some can be a bit of a negative influence, but then you've got to weigh up what their value is on the pitch, and that kind of alludes to the situation that Joe's talking about. You can have people that are bad news in the changing room, but on the pitch they're delivering, and players will suffer it because of that. I've found that at our club so far, the players have managed to deal with the bad eggs, and they've got the changing room is very tight knit, Joe, isn't it? And I know it's easy to say it about a lot, and normally sides that are doing well, it's because there's a good dressing room anyway. So one brings the other.
There's a core of them original boys, and they not decide because they're not the dictators in the dressing room, but they will call people on things that other people probably wouldn't because they're comfortable doing that, and they buy into everything that's being done as well. So they almost set the tone for the dressing room, that sort of core group of original players and that were there from
and I think because the cameras are there all the time, the cameras will catch that out, because the cameras kind of become a bit of a second nature, don't they? You forget they're there because they're not. You genuinely forget that they're there a lot of the time. And we've got the boys the boys that operate the cameras are seen very much as part of the squad.
Yeah,
they're treated exactly the same. They're treated as players, other than the fact that they haven't got to keep themselves fit. But they're still they're very much part of that changing room, and they're a vital part of that changing room because they kind of bridge the gap between the needs for the content and bringing the players. They bring the players out of the shell, because it's not all of them are comfortable when they first come in, and a lot of them are a bit, don't know how I'm going to be with this. And then the next minute they're getting involved and they're really embracing it.
Yeah.
Got another one here from Tommy Jenkins. He says, "What is #United's approach to player progression, e.g., #reserves under 18s, 16s, 15s, and so on?"
So we obviously, when I took on the job, we were one team. There was a Sunday side as well, but that was spent really keeping a lot on the court together and playing with his mates. And it was always about building a football club, not just having a team and doing the best you can with that team. So over the last year, we've merged with a local youth setup. Taken them under our umbrella, boys and girls. We've got obviously the merger with the women's team as well. So we're looking at a pathway from like all good clubs, where there's a pathway through where there's potential that a kid at the age of 8 years old can have aspirations to play in the first team. The reality is it's not going to happen often, but we're trying to build that pathway. We've had a reserve team for the first time this year, which obviously you know about Bill, because I know you've got a relationship with Kears and you speak to him a lot.
Yeah.
We've also got, as part of the merger with Forest Glade, we took on a senior team that play in the Olympian. They're in one of the lower divisions of the Olympian at the moment, and we're calling them the development. And the idea is that we're kind of going to progress that as well, hopefully get a couple of promotions eventually, and have have that where we've got kind of fluidity between the reserves and that development side. And then below that, we've got the youth section, which is, we're very keen to keep football for all. So, it's not all about ability. We're not an academy. We're not at that level. But we're looking at introducing Eastern Junior Alliance, which is obviously a lot of the grassroots youth teams kind of want to play in that level. And we've been able to, that's part of the deal with Forest Glade, that, by being part of our club, they can offer that to their children, because them as a youth, a grassroots set up, we're losing a lot of their best players to the likes of, Concords and Chelmsfords and Billericay's and your East Thurrocks to go and play Eastern Junior Alliance football. So we're able to kind of sustain that, but we're looking at building that kind of football for all and keeping that community club feel, but also with a pathway for Eastern Junior Alliance that makes it slightly more aspirational, if you like, and competitive for those that have got the ability and the desire to make that pathway. So very, very early stages, but it's something that we're working on because, as I say, we're trying to build a football club.
And you, another one here as well. You briefly mentioned, obviously, the women's team. So Abby's asked about what do you think about the merger between yourselves and AFC Basildon to create the women's team, and do you think the future looks like the club in terms of development for the women's game as a whole?
Yeah, that was a huge thing for us. Obviously, AFC Basildon in their own right were doing brilliantly, fantastically, but were on the brink in terms of being able to run as a club. And Bill, I know you've got quite a bit of interest in women's football as well, haven't you? And I know you've kind of been involved in it, and you'll know that a lot of these sides, they have to, they're playing at a good level of football. So our girls are, tier 4 in the women's pyramid. They're 2 promotions away from professional football. They're playing against the likes of Ipswich and Norwich and Cambridge, so in comparison, they're competing at a really, really good level. And they were having to pay to play. They were having to, go out and source their own individual sponsors. And by merging as part of us, we've been able to take that pressure away from that team and the girls. So they're at the very least, they're not having to pay. They're part of the same kit deals and brand deals, and we're trying to bring it so we're doing stuff together and there's a connection between the two. Because I know in a lot of clubs that there's just no relationship whatsoever between the men's and the women's team. For example, we run during this lockdown, we've been running Zoom sessions for the youth section. We've got one tomorrow morning where the youth section come in and we'll have senior players from both men's and the women's on the Zoom demonstrating, skills, little tricks and turns for the kids, and trying to bring a one club kind of feel and approach. So for us to bring them in on board was huge for us, and I think it was equally beneficial for those guys because they were wondering whether they were, had the capacity to carry on because of the financial pressures that they were under.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest surprises that I found when I got involved in Harlow Ladies. The amount of money that these young girls was having to dig to find just to play for that club. It was unbelievable. So then
the travel. They travelled all over the country because there's just obviously it's not that field, and so there's honestly so much respect for those guys.
Yeah, we've got Dean's he's obviously watching. He's the manager of Harlow Ladies, and obviously he's in the same situation as you. Like his ladies' side are the highest level at that club at Harlow, so they play in a step higher than the men's first team. So you'd think that the club would really back that east side, but he ain't gonna. Well, I can say it because I'm not attached to the club, but they don't. Do you know what I mean? So they need to start backing them because they're a really good side. They got some. Your ladies' side got some fantastic players.
Yeah.
I know a few of the players who play for the ladies' side. Some great players.
Yeah, they really have, and they were going really well again. And they were on line for promotion last season. They're another team that have been hugely affected by this situation.
Yeah,
but it's fantastic. We're really pleased. It's been great for us.
Yeah. A question there from Carol as well.
No, it's just more of a statement, really. I just put it on screen just a second ago, but she said, "Great to hear all that you're doing, especially making it a one club feel." So, I mean, you kind of demonstrate that within the documentary as well. The fact that you guys are so intertwined together. Everyone, as you mentioned before, Jay, as well, that the people behind the scenes, the media, they're part of the squad, even though they're not playing as well. But one thing I was going to actually ask you as well. I remember a shot when you was in the stands and you said that everyone that comes to us, it's like their cup final. But who's your cup final? Who do you kind of look towards and like, okay, they're the ones that we need to play? And obviously that goes
United. Man United.
To be honest, and I think I'm pretty boring when it comes to that. I tell you, I try not to create these rivalries or have these rivalries because I don't think they're necessarily.
You should have asked me this.
You probably should have asked that. In the fact they didn't answer it, but for me, it tends to be the teams that you're competing with. In that up in the top of the league, for example, for us a lot, it's tended to be those. But no real. I don't look at any and go, "That's our biggest game of the season." It's boring. It's just our next game. I think you've got to give equal respect. Certain results. If you beat it right, it's a good result. But it's only a good result if you're getting results against the teams that you don't see as the big rivals as well. So I don't think we've quite got that. And that phrase about everyone's cup final as well, I use that reluctantly because it sounds a little bit big time. But what I was doing, I was actually in that. I was quoting other managers. They say that other managers have actually said to me, "Well, you're our cup final. You're everyone's cup final. Everyone talks about it because we bring the crowd. We know we're going to get that exposure. If we're the team that beats you, then we're going to get that kind of kudos when it goes up." And as you say, there's sometimes close to 250,000 people will watch it.
Yeah.
So that's that. I don't like using that phrase. It was more the case of that's been said to me, and that's my basic one, if you like. But Joe might have a different.
I think even with that is that you say like the cup final thing, but the cup finals for our players as well because they're going to be on on YouTube with like say however many viewers, so they know they have to. The amount of times I come in from a warm up and go, that wasn't good. Or in my early days, that was a rubbish warm up, and then we'll go and win and we'll play really well. And it took me a while to realise that they're just relaxed. That's what they are. They're used to the situation more than I was, and they're relaxed in front of cameras. They're relaxed about the job that they're going to do, and then they go out and turn it on. So they raise themselves for each and every game. It answered your question earlier about how do you get these players up for it. They're just up for it because they know that they get the exposure if they do well, and they do get all the plaudits that come with it and everything. So I think as much as it's a phrase, it's everyone's cup final. Every game's a cup final for our players as well because it's a chance to boost their if anything their ego because they get to watch themselves, and that never happened. You'd love to watch all your goals back, Bill, wouldn't you? If you had a chance, these get to do that. So it's massive for our players as well.
I don't think I'd have time, to be honest.
What for both of them? We've kind of learned and realised that our boys are at their best when they're having fun, and sometimes that comes across as them not being focused, but it's not the case. It's just their manner. And one thing I would say is that I might be the miserable one that's always trying to kind of keep a lid on things, but our football club is a fun place to be at.
Yeah.
When they're saying in the room.
when I'm not in the room. Yeah.
Got another question in here for you both. What are your guys' personal goals as hashtag management for the next 5 to 10 seasons?
I'd just look at if we ain't in the football league within 5, Devs ain't done his job. So that's the way I look at it.
You bring Odgies back in. You take over.
And if I go, he goes. Yeah, I think anyone, it doesn't matter what job you're in as a manager, your goal in 5 to 10 years has got to still be in the job, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's and if we're still in the job, then that means we're probably doing okay. So I think it's kind of dangerous to set goals that far in advance. It's just season at a time. You don't know what's around the corner, do you?
Yeah. I know about the just briefly. I know your newfound fans, obviously hashtag United, and they might think that your career started with hashtag. Obviously, they didn't. You made your debut, Devs, for Dagenham at 16. I think was that in a conference as well, wasn't it?
They were a conference, a good conference side. It was actually in the Essex Senior Cup semi-final. They don't treat that as a first team fixture anymore, but back then, obviously, it was. Yeah, but yeah, John Steele gave me a debut at 16. Yeah.
So and Joe, you started off at West Ham in a fantastic youth setup that you was obviously. I'm guessing that's where you met Odgies. I
went to school with Odge before we went to West Ham. I was a year below him, but yeah, we went to school together as well.
So that was the same sort of time with Jason Garrity and that as well, wasn't it? And that sort of
he was a bit older.
My age.
Yeah, they was a bit older than me. My youth team was actually Rio and Frank. So Rio's. So there was only when I was a first year.
Hold on. Yeah,
there was only 3 second years when I was a first year, and that was Frank, Manny on my hymne, and Odgie. So we had an unbelievable sort of 3 second years, and in our first years there was the likes of me, Rio, David Partridge, who went on to play for Wales, Chris Coyne went on to play for Australia. You know, our youth team was good, and yeah, that was a really good year.
Odgie was quality. The last time I see him was I think '97 in Faliraki, in a bar in Faliraki.
He's still drunk now from then, I think.
Doing kick-ups by the side of the pool out in his West Ham shorts.
In that youth team, regarding we had the likes of sort of Rio and Frank and like the others, I suppose he was the best by a way at the time, and no one could get near him. And he'd had 12 operations on his knees by the time he was 22. So that's why he never went on and played at the levels he should have. But in that youth team era, there was no one could get near him.
Yeah. So you went on to have a really good career, Joe, in the professional game with Colchester and Orient, and amongst others, Bristol. I'm reading them off here, Brentford. You played a lot of professional games, and obviously you've had your time in non-league as well. Obviously playing for Tilbury, managing Tilbury, your time at East Thurrock. How do you compare? Obviously pro, non-league, and then I know hashtag is non-league, but it's got a professional sort of feel. Obviously, a feel to it. It's more like a professional environment to what Tilbury was, maybe.
And for me, it was. I finished quite early. I finished at 28, my professional career, and I dropped in, and mentally, I wasn't ready to play non-league football. I went to Hornchurch, and at the time, getting a bit of money and offer for a non-league team, but mentally I wasn't prepared to play because I thought it was going to be easy, and I think that's the problem, is that the professionals that drop down think they can just take liberties, and I did think I could, but also away from football things were going on, so I wasn't prepared. I wasn't mentally right to play football at that time, especially dropping down. and things didn't go well on church. And by just after Christmas, I was gone, and then I didn't play football, and that was almost me done. And then a couple of things happened again away from football. I went through a few things, and I ended up playing at Tilbury. And I can tell you now, there is no better time in my football career than the 2 years I played at Tilbury. And bearing in mind what Tilbury used to be, it's nice now compared to what it was, and people do speak highly of it. But I absolutely loved the 2 years I played there. Wow. And I'd never let anyone badmouth the play because I loved the place, and I played with some good players there over the 2 years as well. And yeah, really, really enjoyable times.
Some of the clubs you've been at and some of the grounds and clubs you must have played against, to say that is a massive compliment for Tilbury Football Club. Massive.
And it's the people, isn't it? That's what makes football clubs a lot of the time. There were good people around, and the dressing room was good. And, we had a mixture. We had, Michael Black. He was the biggest moaner you've ever seen. But everyone loved him. He sat there moaning non-stop from the moment he walked into the moment he left. And people just laughed. No one took offence to it. No one thought he was a bad egg, because he wasn't. He was just sitting there. But everybody loved him. And he was just one of the players there. And, I moved on. And I'm lucky, because I've gone from that club to East Thurrock, where, success, and met great people. Again, the one of the best family clubs I've been at in terms of just everyone around the club helping out. And then, even at Canvey, things didn't go particularly great, but at the time there, I really enjoyed it because of, Hills is a great character. And then, to go to Hashtag he's you've mentioned the family club side of it. Well, there are a lot of family members. I've got Albie there. My sister-in-law does the gate. Devs has got Ellis, who's at every game. 2 brothers run it. Their dad's the physio. Their mum's about, and we've got 2 brothers playing in the team to get it. And there is that family feel, but everybody knows all the fans as well. I'll go up and you stand, talk to people. Everyone by name, and it's just, it's a club that it's a really enjoyable place to be at. That's what I'd say about it.
I'm a little bit gutted that you didn't say Epping was the best time of your career, but never
if
mind.
I didn't roll my ankle a minute before half time, I'd have loved that game. But that's what done me.
Diego. And obviously, Devs, and you had a fantastic career, played with some great clubs. But like our previous guest Ross, you unfortunately had to retire early.
Well, I was listening to Ross, and he had obviously back problem. But when I was at Dagenham, I suffered a stress fracture of me spine, and I ended up having to have surgery. And I think I was out for close to 18 months at the age of 19, 20, and went from being on the fringes, because at Dagenham I played in the first team a few games, but I hadn't established myself. But I went from kind of being fairly well thought of there and to dropping down to the Essex Senior League with Falls. I don't know if that would have necessarily happened today, whether I would have had to drop that far, because there's a little bit more, I feel there's a bit more profile, and a bit more people are aware of what's going on a little bit more in non-league football. But then we went on the times I had with that club were amazing. Joe talks, about his time at Tilbury, but I've got playing at Oakside, which is far from illustrious. But I loved it, because I loved the fact that other people turn up and hate it, and it just give us a leg up. But I think we had 4 promotions in 6 seasons. That was phenomenal. Got to the first round of the FA Cup as a Ryman 3 team. We played Preston, who were top of League One at the time, so you couldn't have got any kind of bigger a gap at the time. And the character, the change, because I think I had left the year you joined, and then I come back the following season, and you'd gone, because you were there the year that I wasn't, because I went to Enfield, didn't I?
That's right.
And but so played with a lot of the same people, and that dressing room carried itself.
Yeah, that the level of players that we had then would be, they'd be up there now. They'd be National League standard. That squad.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like making
comparisons
like that. I think it's such an easy thing to fall into, isn't it? Like the good old days, and it was better then. And because memories are wonderful, they paint the picture slightly different for you when you look back at it. But Joe talking about Joe, he's saying how he struggled, and I used to see that a lot with pros, and they'd come in and I'd think, are they really going to be any good for us? There were a few that had come. But their art wasn't in it. They thought that as you say, it would just be okay. But it's almost a different sport, isn't it? You're almost playing a different sport. And people who dealt with it best were people like Glenn Thomas, who you would have played with at Falls, and he ended up being my assistant when I managed them for a short time. But he was phenomenal as an ex-pro to come down and just embrace it, and he almost he was.
Properly.
Great example of how you needed to be to thrive in the environment, and I think that's what probably after Joe's initial kind of shock to the system is what he found, and probably what Tilbury give him was a place to love football again, and that's why he always look back at those times with such fond memories.
Yeah. Clint, did you have anything to add?
No, that's it. I think there was one question from Gabrielle, but I think we've answered it already. It's more in regards to what is the step from reserve to the first team, but I think we answered that already before. So
yeah, well, they train when we train. We were in constant conversation with Kiers. We've even taken him on loan to play in the first team a few times this year. Bill, you've got one of our young boys, Carlos, we've spoken about and we'll speak about with Kiers. We've got high hopes for him. But really, and he's not had any week and he didn't get half a season out of it, Kiers. It was about establishing a reserve team, really, and we unfortunately it's been interrupted, but we're in constant conversation with Kiers about his players.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I think we've run out of time, but thank you so much for agreeing to come on. It's been great having you. I really thank you for agreeing to come on and share your stories and talk about your hashtag careers so far.
Been a pleasure, gents. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you. Yeah, and we got to come down as well once we're all out of lockdown as well. Me and Covey got to come down.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got a photo opportunity. Can we all do the photo opportunity?
I will. He won't. I will. There's no way you get him to do it.
Come on, Devs. Come on.
I tell you what, the owner can't get me to do it. You ain't going to get me to do it.
Right, top man. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Cheers, fellas. Take care.
Right. Oh, that was awesome. Really good guys.
Just at the time, Newcastle was winning, and now they're not.
Yeah, cheers for that, Pete. Cheers. Come on. Newcastle.
That was insightful. The life at hashtag, and obviously they've both had fantastic football careers. They were both great players. So yeah, and then to go and then obviously what they're for them to the players are so lucky at hashtag. Not to just have all that media stuff and all the equipment that they get provided with, but to have they've got Devs, they've got Joe Keefe. They've got obviously Tom Williams, who we had on the show a little while ago. We've got Kiers in the development. They've got some, the young players over there. They're in good hands. The players there, really good hands.
No, definitely indeed. Just got to give a shout out to your friend Dean Parrott. In fact, both of our friends now. You know what I mean? Your friends are my friends, vice versa. Just want to say massive thank you for all the support, really, the charity walk as well. So glad to hear.
Well done,
so yeah, shout out to you, Dean. And just seeing all the comments coming in as well. Thank you, Carol, for listening as always. Another good show. Inspirador FC say another great show, lads, as well. Cheers, and then I'm going to read out Pete's comment as well because cheers. Update us. Random question. What last one here from Hugo as well. he's been busy tonight. Random question: what's your relationship with Neil Day?
There's no relationship between Neil Day. He's just a friend.
Okay.
Obviously he's our coach for Eton Manor. He's got a close affiliation to Eton Manor. We're both good friends with the Whitelock family. So yeah, that's how I know him. He's a good guy. Neil, top guy.
Wicked. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to both sign off. If you're watching this back, please like, share, comment, and all that good stuff as well. Kurt, you asked this last week and you're asking it again. This interview with me is not coming. People don't want to know about me. We want to know about the guests that are coming on. But thank you for asking anyway. But again, as I said before, please like, share, and comment. We've got some more amazing guests coming up within these next coming weeks as well. So please stay tuned.
What's the date today?
It is the 27th, sir, of February.
So next week is Matt Le Tissier.
Oh, you're just going to drop it like that, are you? Just going to drop it. Matt Le Tissier, I think you guys might have heard of him. Played for a team called Southampton. I've heard of him. But couple tap-ins. Just Google him. You know on that thing? Just Google him.
Get your questions ready.
Yeah, so get your questions ready for that. We won't spoil too many more because otherwise, we want them to, the suspense.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of suspense.
Exactly. But yeah, as I said before, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And again, more amazing guests coming up, like Matt Le Tissier, and more coming up soon. Peace.
Thank you.